Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Straight Out of BPS podcast with Rudy and Jamari. I am Rudy Looters, and on this journey with me is the one and only
Jamari Jones, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be back. Thank you guys for your I know, right? Thank you for your continued support. Just want to remind you guys, don't forget about us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Anchor. We on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. So please reach out, follow, like, share with a friend. Thanks.
man. Share with a friend. Yeah, share with a friend. Thank you for the support. Subscribe. We're excited to get this conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing today, my brother?
Yo, man. These past couple of weeks, a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
We have students coming back in person. I can see the effect that it has on my students, them being in person versus them being at home. It also reminded me, like having my kids in, like why I love what I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because having not having the kids in the building so long, it makes you as a counselor, it makes you question like if you're doing your job right, if you're supporting your kids
Yeah.
the way you need to. And I think partly, yes, it's because of the pandemic, but the other part is like, you know, am I doing my job correctly? And I know other counselors that I talk to, like they're feeling the same way, but like having the kids back really solidified like my love for school counseling and my love for my students and everything like that. So definitely some highs and some lows, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it. How about you, my brother?
Busy week is the time where it's April. April vacation is coming around.
Yeah.
Students are receiving like a rejection or acceptance letter. Meeting with student one on one and family with families to figure out and comparing school
Yeah.
to help. I don't make decisions for them, but like when you have the money, you look at a projected tuition for 4 years. We don't look at the first. We look at 4 years, and we want them to understand what they're dealing with the money, so just so they can make a financially fit decision. Like low income students don't have the luxury of picking this of going to the student they want to.
Yeah.
It all matter who gives them the most, what's the most affordable.
Yeah. Every cent
Um,
matters.
yeah, every cents matter.
Hmm.
So it's that time, some dreams are being crushed. I told them that like no matter how much you want to go to a school, the school show you love by how much money they give you. And if
Yeah.
they don't give you that same energy, that it
Yeah.
wasn't meant to be.
Hmm.
They're lost.
Right.
Like, so you're gonna find where you need to be. It's all about you.
It's definitely an emotional time for everybody. That's an emotional
Definitely.
roller coaster.
Yeah. May 1st is coming up. It's
Yep.
decision day. So,
Hmm.
so definitely got getting ready for that.
Yeah.
I want to touch on what you said about like that feeling of seeing your kids, like
Hmm.
and I feel like that's something that every educator want, like
Yeah.
and that's when the misunderstanding. I think there's a misunderstanding that educators don't want to be in a building. They want to be the kid. Everybody wants to be in a building.
Right.
Everybody, but everybody wants to be safe.
Hmm.
Like when they're not structuring the building or the system implemented are not as safe, how can you be present with your student if you don't feel safe?
Yeah.
How can you teach a lesson if you don't feel
Yeah.
safe? Like the buildings are old. I see some teachers, um they go in the building but they're still teaching in the Zoom.
Yeah.
Like like why not teach safety of your home? Like
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely not a lot of trust between the system and the teachers,
Absolutely.
and that's something like we need to fix because in order for us to work together, they need to be trust.
And everybody has a different level of what safe is. So
Yes,
so like
yes,
BPS can't, or a school system in general can't tell me how I feel about my own safety. So that's
Yes.
another issue that,
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But I know for me, is my level of safety might be different from a teacher's. You know what I mean? So and I get that, So um
Yeah.
yes,
So which is good because we are diving into politics this episode, you know?
yes, man. Yes.
You
I'm
know,
excited.
it's election year. We need to do who we need to hold accountable,
Right.
what we need, like, how we make sure our agenda are included in whoever's running for office.
Yeah.
We need to speak our demand. We need to amplify our voice, making sure that we
Yeah.
are here, we are watching.
Yep.
Like, the people elect those official.
Yep. I'm definitely ready. There's a like you said, there's a lot of moving parts that are um that are happening right now with our mayor Marty Walsh leaving and then having our new current mayor, Kim Janey. Like that in itself is like iconic. And then we have different things happening in smaller pockets of in our communities. So, and I'm excited to just talk about it and to give information to people because, I know for me, I didn't really pay attention to my local politics like I should have. So I'm ready to dive into it. Let's get it, man.
Let's
We
do
we
this.
we definitely got some things planned. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone. Straight out of BPS podcast. Thank you guys for joining in again. As we're coming back from our break, we are going to be going over our views on the latest news. First of all, in Boston, we have our first Black mayor. We are very excited.
Woo,
One,
woo.
because she is a Black mayor. Also, she is a woman of color. So we are very excited. Um, Monday, April 26th, Boston Public Schools begins 5 days in person learning for students grades K0 through K8. And then for on the college route, we have some colleges in Boston uh, making it a requirement that students must get vaccinated on campus.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts, my man?
Our first Black mayor. I'm excited for her. Like, it's something to be proud of. Like, she's the 55th mayor of Boston. First Black executive, first Black woman. She's from Roxbury. So
And she's doing two jobs right now.
and she's doing two jobs. So she is doing her mayoral duty as
Mm-hmm.
well as her duty as City Council District 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But
And
she's
she's doing it well.
so she was doing two jobs before too, though. She
Mm-hmm.
was City Council president
Mm-hmm.
and the City Council for District 7. That's why she became the mayor. So if the mayor resigned, the president of the City Council
Mm-hmm.
becomes the next mayor until there's usually there might be some special election. I know there was a lot of talk about that, having some special election,
Yeah.
but one, because COVID is happening, there's a lot of resource and money that will have to be put into the special election. So I'm glad they're not doing it. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. So this is exciting news. So
Yeah.
um,
Uh BPS begins, 5 days in person learning for students K0 to K8. I know a lot of parents have been pushing for this. I will say this though, being a counselor, I think that BPS could have rolled this out a little bit better. Um,
okay.
One of the reasons is that they gave it to us like last month, and parents were super excited,
Yeah,
but they pushed the date back because Desi had given us a extension on students coming back. So instead of coming back the first week of April, it was pushed back to the 26th.
Mm.
This, I'm gonna keep it 100%.
Let's keep it 100. That's what we do, like, you know.
This has made my job so much harder because like parents are frustrated because they want their kids back sooner and they don't understand why they're not back now. And it got the extension and the survey was sent. So if BPS or was going to apply for that extension anyway, or Desi or whoever, they should have never sent out that survey because it's giving false hope. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Knowing that you're gonna push back the date. So I was extremely frustrated. It makes my job a little bit harder to connect with parents because there's no trust, there's not a lot of trust with the system as it is. And so especially right now when they're trying to push to get their students back, I mean their kids back, and we keep saying, oh, we're gonna wait till next month, the month after. It makes it harder.
Yeah.
I'm excited for them to come back, but it does make it a little harder.
So one thing that I've been hearing is just like you know, like like I said before, everyone wants the kids to be back in school, right?
Yeah.
You know? But like what do we do with the if the building are still not safe to be back in?
Hmm.
Like, I am not sure what has changed in the building.
Hmm.
Like um, are we ready to have everyone back in?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying I don't want people in. I definitely want people in, but how?
Mhm.
What is the plan to get everyone back in safely?
Yeah.
Like, what is the plan to get it back in and all like with everyone feeling safe?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think you're right. And I know that my school leaders have developed a plan.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know what other schools look like. I don't know if it's a school by school. I know there's like overarching
yeah,
like requirements you have to have, but I believe it's up to the school individually to implement those things.
uh-huh.
But that's a valid concern. Like I think parents and and everyone have been asking for new school buildings with
Yeah,
ventilation for a long time, right? Like, and it just hasn't happened because we don't have the money. But
yeah.
we got the money to do other things. So,
Yeah.
but that's a
So
different conversation.
we're looking at school like every school is on the same level, but they're not.
Hmm.
Like, I definitely agree, like, with letting each school decide what works better for them. And
Hmm.
the thing about it, like, not everyone's gonna be pleased with the decision, because I think you said it before, safety for everyone, like safety is different for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, so I hope we can find a solution.
Yeah.
I mean, we in April. If the plan is to come back after April, that like we almost at the end. So I feel like it's worth going back to the drawing table and think about a long time so we can think like start thinking about the fall for everyone. What can we do to make sure the fall
Yeah.
everyone can feel safe being in the
Yeah.
building? I also think like the BPS or like whoever's in charge, put in the sense that people are gonna get COVID anyway.
Hmm.
So it's like once you have it, you're good. Your body's gonna build immune system. It's like playing like Russian roulette with people's
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't get it anyway because the thing about it, and I hear in the news, and I blame the news, like news are like the headline be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and then people are interested in headline. They're not gonna read the content.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did you hear that? People like headline, and then nobody reads the article or like the blogs. They just
Yeah.
the headline, and some of the headline be crazy because you hear like the school just open, and then like all those people get infected,
Hmm.
and now they have to close, and just like what was the plan? Like, what, how come this happened?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like vaccines are out. You
Mm-hmm.
know, again, I'm not judging anyone whether you takes it or not. I
Yeah.
just feel like this is a personal decision.
Right.
Um, so it's a hard situation.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, man. I to your point of that, we are what we're in April. We have
Mhm.
2 months left. We're gonna have people come. We're gonna have students come back at the end. It's already fourth term. Students that have been struggling probably failed first and second term, and now we're having them come back at the end. It's kind of like, okay, let's just gear up for next year, and like let's go back to the drawing board, and how can we do this better? So colleges,
It has begun, bro.
yeah, like
It has begun. Like Northeastern and Boston University, we require students to be vaccinated in the fall.
no, I'm not gonna lie, this makes me feel some type of way. Like
Yeah.
I get the safety reasons, but like I feel like the requirement aspect, uh like
Well, okay, here's a pushback for you.
yeah.
Um, school, college and school were already asking for
Flu.
um immunization before you enroll.
Yeah.
So, what is the difference between that and COVID?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like this
I don't know. I'm just I'm
well,
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like, I'm not
yeah.
saying I'm
So
for that.
so this is what I think. I think COVID,
Yeah,
like this COVID vaccine is new.
it is.
Like immunization record, I mean, like stuff it's been around for a while. People are more familiar with it. But
Yeah,
to ask someone to put something in their body that they don't feel comfortable with in order to further their education, I kind of have a problem with. You know what I mean? Especially with the vaccine being so new. Like you can't ask people. It's about that conversation again. Your level of safety, your comfortability.
yeah.
Like you're limiting my choices of which college I go to because I don't want to put something in my body. So I'm like, I don't. That's a slippery slope to me,
Yeah.
and you're limiting like your your pool of students now.
Yeah.
So
So I'm interested to see what if other school gonna follow suit. I know I've talked to some of my I sent it when I saw that I sent an email to some of my colleagues. I was like, we need to have a conversation with our student
yeah,
and figure out how they feel about taking the vaccine.
hmm,
Like, have that, like, we're not gonna have that conversation to persuade them,
yeah,
having an open forum, how do
yeah,
you feel about the vaccine? And then possibly bring somebody from the healthcare who's in healthcare to talk, like,
hmm,
if they can shed some light on question they may have, and also having their parents included. I do feel like it's a personal decision. I understand, like, COVID is scary.
yeah,
COVID is scary.
yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting.
Yep, it sure is, man.
Yeah.
And I think that from the other side, like working with youth now, organizations like yours, and working in the school, being a school counselor, helping them through that college process.
Yeah.
What does that look like for tracking students up on, like, are we going to be required to have students upload their vaccine card or whatever,
Yeah.
um you know
So
and
some
then
people don't take vaccine because of religion, health, and allergy.
exactly,
So,
yeah,
how does that play in fact? And we have heard stories about how the vaccine affect people with allergy.
yeah,
So knowing that, if you have an allergy, why would you go take the vaccine?
yeah,
Like, it
You
might
don't,
depend on what kind of
yeah.
allergy, but like
And
it's
I don't want people to think that we're anti, you know,
we're not
vaccine.
anti.
Yeah,
We're not anti nothing.
yeah.
But what I believe is just like one,
The
it's a
freedom of
personal
choice.
decision, freedom of
Yeah.
choice. It's a
Yep.
personal decision. Two, I'm not gonna judge somebody who doesn't take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's
Or I don't think they should be limited to what they can do. Um,
you know
you know?
yeah, they should not be limited. It's and I like and I'm having that conversation like I understand COVID is scary. You don't like it's it's so crazy because everybody needs to rely on each other to like we kind of rely on each other. If COVID has proven that
Yeah,
we need each other to survive, like
absolutely.
it's it's crazy.
Yeah.
And another question that may come is like how is school gonna support students who are struggling to get vaccinated?
Yeah. I don't I mean, I don't know. In what way, I guess? Like that don't want to get vaccinated?
Both, because let me think. So those who are struggling, who are trying to get vaccinated, they are more likely to get support, while those who don't want to get vaccinated will be alienated.
Mm, um, that's a good question.
You know,
Yeah.
what access, like in terms of access, those who want to be vaccinated, how how they being supported to like I'm guessing like everyone's like call go check out this website, but I think like some of the website get busy real quick. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
yeah,
I know for my school, we have a we kind of have it's Codman Clinic, right?
yeah,
Like we have it in our building, which we are very fortunate. We have a nursing like department like station, and then we have a clinic right next to, right next to the nursing station. So I'm assuming, I don't know if this is going to be the case, if like students wanted to get the vaccine and they haven't yet, there might be able to provide that, because I know they have provided different services
yeah,
for my kids, but I mean, not all schools have that. We're very fortunate to have that, but
yeah,
not all schools, have that for real. So,
yeah.
but that's a very good point, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, we're gonna keep pay attention. Again, we're not anti, we're just having a conversation. I think it's okay to have a conversation.
Yep.
Um, like, the goal is to more to educate, not to judge.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So let's take a quick break, and we'll get right back.
Welcome back, everyone. As you all may already know, this year is an election year. Mayor Walsh was nominated and confirmed as the next labor secretary. So let's be clear. We're not having an election because he left. If he had stayed, we would still have an election. Um, so very often, like and myself included, like we wait for the last minute to see to get to know the candidate, and some of the candidate who already withdrew, like who needed our support, like because we weren't paying attention, weren't as involved as we needed. Some of the candidate we would have liked to be in a position are no longer running.
Mhm.
So I think it is vital. We had a great turnaround for presidential election. We always do. Um, but we need to pay attention to local election because, as you know, every politician, I mean, except for you know who,
Mhm.
um, their political career start in their neighborhood, like. So we need to know who are we putting in office in our community. Um, just like if Merrill Walsh, um, who's from Dorchester and became the mayor of Boston, did not become the mayor of Boston, he will not be in a position to be a labor secretary today. Like, so we need to be informed and we need to know what the people who are in power are going to do for us. What are the agenda? Does the agenda include our need? But
Mhm.
like, not every politician that like gonna match the agenda is not gonna match you 100% of what you need. Like this never happened. But it's up for you to compare and like which one was gonna not only for you but your community. Very often we're looking at what's best for me. Like if the politician is meaning gonna give me most of what I need, I'm okay. But
Mhm.
we are a community. Like we want to make sure like are we willing to sacrifice some of the stuff on our agenda so somebody in our community um are we willing to sacrifice some of the stuff in our agenda, like to better our community? So some of the discussion. So we wanted to be involved. We are learning.
Mhm.
Jamari, do you remember when you first voted? Like when you got into um paying attention to politics in general, or do you pay
Um,
attention to politics?
I never have, and it's crazy because I majored in politics,
Okay.
government in college, but I didn't really when I was younger, I really didn't like pay attention to politics um and what was happening in my community. Of course, I lived in it. I knew what was happening, but I really didn't know, who was my elected official representing me and all that other stuff. Of course, I knew the governor, the mayor,
Yeah.
but I didn't know like the ins and outs of it. So, but one of the first elections I know me voting in, it's not local, but the presidential for Obama.
Oh,
Um,
me
and
too. That was the
yeah,
first time I was able to vote.
yeah. So that was one, and it changed my life, and I learned how important voting was, and to be involved in elections, and what power came with that. Before then, you know, it was just like whatever. But
Yeah,
now,
I think we had just turned 18 when
yep.
Obama was running, so that was a
Mhm.
crucial point, But after that, we voted for Obama. We went dormant, we weren't paying
Yeah,
attention to nothing else. We were in
yeah,
college, politics was like our thing.
yep.
So yeah,
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I feel like after, the presidential election, everyone pretty much knows about, but what really matters is like the local elections because it's
yeah,
it's it's affected it's directly impacting your community for real.
definitely because Obama was elected by the community president. Um,
Right.
um, which is that we need to pay attention. Like I said, this year is an election year.
Hmm.
We may have a new mayor,
Yep.
or we know right now Mayor Kim Jenny, the 55th mayor, is decided to run for election.
Hmm.
So um, we have to look at what's our agenda. How does it fit our needs, our demand, especially in the education sector?
Right. So we have what as of right now for the mayoral elections, we have six candidates. We did have seven. Um, his name was Dana Dab Dapatel, and he was a former hotel manager, but he dropped out. Withdrew his candidacy April 2nd.
Yeah.
Um, So that leaves us with six.
Yes.
Yeah, getting into it, we have John Barrows, um, and he is the former chief of economics and development for the city of Boston. Andrea Campbell, um, Boston City Councilor, Fourth District. Anissa George, Boston City Councilor at Large, and then John Santiago, Mass State Rep, and then Michael J. Blanchi the second, former accountant manager, not sure where, and then our currently our acting mayor, um, Kim Janey. So and she is serving two positions like we were saying earlier, current mayor and District 7 city councilor. Um, it's very important that you know these names because they're gonna be um promoting and talking about what they're gonna do for the community. And you don't have to, like Rudy was saying,
Mm-hmm.
they are not you may not get everything that you want, but what candidate is going to do the most for your community, or what aligns with your belief that the
Yeah.
candidate represents.
Yeah.
um I think what it makes me think of is like when Charlemagne the God was talking about like elections and like voting in your interest. And
You mean Leonard?
yeah, Leonard,
No.
and like voting, yeah, voting in your interest. And it's okay to do that, it's okay to say, okay, what is this candidate gonna do for the black community if you're
Yeah.
black? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think, yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I've worked, I remember after graduating from college and I was looking for jobs, I had
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to do some work as campaigning for um politicians who were running for office. I'm campaigning for people who were running for mayors, for state rep, city council. So I've knocked on door asking people like,
Mm-hmm.
would you consider voting for that person? And I've gotten some yes, and then like in the whole time it was a learning experience for me because I was doing the job. I, let's be honest, I wanted to make some buck. They were paying me
Yeah.
to do the job, but I was also it was also interesting to find out like why they were voting and why they weren't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like understanding the perspective of the candidate. Um, one thing that I've learned throughout my journey doing that is like, um, and that prompted me to change my status. My status
Mm-hmm.
is currently independent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I used to be listed as a Democrat, um, and my parents were very involved in local politics. My stepfather and my mother, um,
Mm-hmm.
in the city. So even when I was in high school, me and one of my boys, we used to be making phone calls, and for people who were running office. But
Yeah.
it's like I changed my uh, uh, from Democrat to independent because I noticed that Democrat weren't making an effort to reach out to me.
Yeah.
It kind of like my vote was already they already knew where I've always voted.
Yeah. I was
But
just about to say that.
it's like I'm gonna support the agenda of every Democrat. Like, oh, it's Democrat. I'm gonna vote blindly for the party. And I had to
Yeah.
shoot because there was some stuff that Democrat was doing that I was not like agreeing with and some of the
Mm-hmm.
like, so being independent now, both party have to pitch to me why I should vote, and it's my job to analyze and figure out how it's gonna benefit me and my community,
Yeah.
you know? And one another thing that I learned is that most people vote on um during presidential election, and they don't a lot of people don't pay attention to local election. They know who vote on local election.
Yeah.
They know. So they gonna all the advertisement, all the campaigning money, or like they're gonna target the people who vote in local election.
Which are probably not, and this is my guess, which is probably not young people.
Probably not young people. Yeah.
So they're gonna target the older
Yeah.
generation to
Yeah.
get those votes.
So
Cause
they do a lot to make, like, if you don't keep up with voting in local election, like whenever there's a voting in your district,
mhm,
you will not be registered. That's why some people, like, I've already registered. Like, if you register and you keep voting, you'll be registered. But if you register and then you haven't voted, if you register and you only vote on presidential election, you have to register before, like, because they probably registered and they know who are voting on local. They're gonna target the people who are voting on during local election.
yeah.
Um, like, there's power, like, like, that's your power. Like,
Hmm.
those elected officials, they work for you, so you need
Yeah.
to do your homework. And election is the election. So we're gonna have a mayoral election and a city council election
Yeah.
in November.
Tell
uh
us why, Rudy. Tell us why.
yeah, so with Anissa George, Kim Janey, Michelle Wu, and Andrea
Hmm.
Campbell running for mayor, we are now have some open seat for city councilor at large.
Hmm.
Um, Anissa George was a city councilor at large, and Michelle Wu was a city councilor at large. And Kim Jeannie uh, was the city council, District 7 city councilor, and Andrea Campbell is the
Yeah.
District 4, our District 4 city councilor. But it's also very exciting. So far, I've seen a lot of people running for District 4.
Yeah.
There's more people running for District 4 than any other district so far. And
Yep.
then one name that stood out is Nikia John Shaw, like a high school senior.
Yeah.
And I think this is so bold, so exciting. I cannot wait to learn
And if you
from.
guys haven't looked her up,
You should.
like just just the simple fact, we're not here to endorse people, but just
Yeah.
the simple fact that she is in high school and she's
Yeah.
making strides like this,
Yeah.
like, and she's a black woman,
Yeah.
well, black young lady, black woman, she's gonna be a force to reckon with as she gets older.
She'll be, and I was looking some of her stuff. She's not new on the block. She's been
Yeah.
doing stuff. She's been doing a lot of stuff. So, and I've heard people say she's young, and we do that. We let age, like, be a barrier. Like, vision and leadership does not have an age.
I mean,
And
I'm not trying to take us to church, but uh my when I do go to church, they used to say, the older rely on the young because they are strong. So I'm just saying, if she's learning some wisdom from some other folks, that
yeah,
don't mean she's weak.
like her. I have no problem with a young high school kid being my district council. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I have no problem if she's the right fit, and she's been doing the job in the community. She's been out here to the community. And so I think she belongs. She belongs.
Right. Absolutely.
Deserve a shot. And, like, we can wait to hear her plan. So we're gonna pay close attention to those candidates, and her, to
Definitely.
see how she doing during this journey. um but also, like, I think there's also gonna be re-election for the incumbent for the other city councilor position, like,
Yep.
both mayor and city councilor. But it's just that those two, there'll be those 4 seats will be new people, because the incumbent are not gonna return to those positions. And one thing I want to highlight is like
Yeah.
the city council at large had three women on it, three women and one man. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. And Julia Meya, who be
Mm-hmm.
as of right now is the only woman on city council at large.
Right.
I'm excited to see who come to learn about the people who are running and figure out how the agenda fit me in my community. So yeah,
Yeah. That's why we were saying to everyone, listen, that's why we were saying that there's going to be a lot of shifts going on in Boston. And it's the right time for us to listen and pause, take a breather, and listen to these candidates because this is going to shape the next 2 to 3 years of Boston. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is like how, you know, Boston is a mayor ran city, right? Um, and that the mayor dictates a lot of things that happens within our city. Um, and I know we're gonna talk about it. I don't want to get a front like ahead of it, but it's just very important that we are really have our ear to the streets and to what is going on, and what these politicians are talking about, and hold them accountable.
accountable. You know, you can like someone and hold them accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
You can like, and for some people, some people may think that we failed to do with Obama. We were so happy with Obama, we
Mm-hmm.
have to hold him accountable. Some people, and you know, it's like I'm happy we had Obama for 2 term, 8 years. You know, but there's some stuff I wish he had done. There's some stuff
Yeah.
he didn't do. And But we did not hold him accountable. You
Right.
know, we did not hold uh um 45 accountable.
Mm-hmm.
What were we
I
were
don't
more
even
like
know what that is.
we were just
I said I don't even know what that is.
Yes. So,
Let's skip.
that's a blank spot. You know,
Yeah.
even we didn't. I don't think we held him accountable. We're just from the moment he was elected, we're just counting down to when the next 4 years is gonna happen, and
Right.
like on surviving mode, pushing through, waiting. Like you know, it's but now Biden, like you know, a lot of us didn't at first wasn't for Biden, but when it came time to choose between Biden and 45,
Yeah.
um, we went with Biden, and now we need to hold Biden accountable and make
Right.
sure he's delivering. And yeah, that's one of the biggest scale. But just like Obama, Biden started in his local community, like you know,
Yep.
like so whoever we put in the office, we need to make sure they not only the agenda fits us, includes us in our community, but also we keep them accountable and make sure they deliver. Like you
Right.
know, we make sure they still listening to the community that put them in power.
We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. As we were talking about before, we mentioned that Boston was a mayoral city, meaning that the mayor dictates a lot of the things that happens in the city. Um, for example, we I was mentioning that he or she would submit an agenda each year, and it's called the legislative agenda, and it's kind of like what the city is going to work towards, and kind of everyone works around that kind of vision to make that come true. So for example, um, we know Marty Walsh was a big um, trades guy, very fond of the trades. So a lot of his policies favored the trades. I know he cared about Boston public schools, so there were some policies that he wanted to see that were in his legislative agenda, um, that everyone was working towards in City Hall. So when we say that Boston is a mayoral city, it means that, like, you know, everybody works around what the mayor's vision is. So that's why it's so important when we're talking about these candidates and you're voting for these people. They're going to have a vision of what Boston or Dorchester, Roxbury looks like. And we want to make sure that we're all on the same page, basically. Um, and it's very important to do that. Um, and so as we're moving in towards talking about the Boston School Committee, which the members are kind of like appointed. The district is led by, the superintendent hired by the Boston School Committee, which, you know, guess who appoints them?
The mayor.
The mayor, bro.
The mayor.
The mayor.
Boston is the only city where this Boston community is still
Yeah.
I think the only city in Massachusetts where the Boston School Committee is still appointed by a mayor. I think one of the things we have discussed in our conversation is like, how can we move back to the Boston school committee members being elected seat? There used to be 13 seats,
right,
elected seat in the Boston School Committee until 1991, where they after a vote, they turn into appointed position. Like during our research, we're able to find that 3 point that why some people may be for appointed position instead of elected position. And the 3 point that stood out to us from the research we're able to do is that people believe that a single point of accountability in the power to sustain aligned leadership. So they want one person in charge, one person to be accountable. If things doesn't work, that one person is the reason why it doesn't work. And the second point is that there's low turnout in off-cycle school board election. And then because there's low turnout, there's a lack of this people don't care about those things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of removed. So it's like the mayor serves as to keep the school members accountable, like they're not doing their job, rather than the people.
Right.
But we see that Boston is a mayor-led city, so the people appointed to this position have to kind of like put the mayor's vision together. What if the mayor's vision for our public school system does not fit what the people need?
Yeah. At the moment, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the whole point of having one person in charge and accountable. And if the mayor doesn't do a good job, the people can choose. That's where they think the power comes. If the mayor doesn't do a good job, then the people can choose not to elect the mayor in an election. And so you might think, what are some of the benefits of having an elected position? Well, some of the benefit is that because with the appointed position, there's a fear that there's not a lot of transparency, and there's not enough representation at the table. People don't feel like their story are being discussed when policy and budget are being discussed.
Yeah.
There's a lack of transparency, so they want to see more transparency. They want to see more themselves, and especially some people wanting to see more Boston Public School alumni and those and this committee, and not just alumni from the exam school.
Right.
Having alumni from the exam school be part of the school committee member is not a correct representation a Boston public school.
Yeah.
So yeah, so having like transparency, making sure like the people who are at the table know our story, they understand our story, they've been through the system, they've been
Yeah.
oppressed and marginalized by the system, and now they're in position to create change. Um, yeah. So some of those stuff. So when we want representation, like we say,
Yeah.
representation matters. So those are like right now currently, as we stated, Boston is very mayor led. I think instead of having 13 seats, they have 7 appointed seats.
Seven
Appointed seats.
appointed seats.
So the mayor appoint new school committee members from a list of candidates recommended by a 13-member nominating panel comprised of teachers, parent, principal, and representative in business and higher education. So
Mhm.
based on those list of candidates, he picks people to appoint. Exam school rule in Boston. Everybody wants to be in the exam school. Because they get the most support. Like data has shown that people who go to exam school are excelling, but that doesn't mean there's not some students who are not doing well at those exam school. So, and also, what about the other school? Like, are those stories being represented in those rooms? So, it's a lot of schools. I'm open. I want to have this discussion. How can we, and will the next period be open to have those seats be elected position rather than appointed position? Because one thing we know that the people are watching, the
Right.
people are more involved, and the people want correct representation. We are no longer sleeping. We are paying attention. We are learning.
Yep.
Um, I had the opportunity of going into like to join a conversation and listen. I was just so excited to listen about how we got like right now. People are talking about the new budget for the city. I think there will be a vote on it in September.
Right. I think one thing that as you were talking that I was thinking about is how in the beginning of not this year, I think it was last year, when one of the chair members of the Boston School Committee was caught mocking um Asian and African American names, and I look at the person that appointed him to that position, and he's serving our students in our community, and I'm I'm thinking, how much of this is politics just in general, how much is this is genuine, that these people care about my communities, and how much is this is just a job for them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just because you have a child that goes to Boston Public Schools, or you graduated from Boston Public Schools
The
many
exam
years
school,
ago,
the exam schools.
yeah, exam schools many
Yeah,
years ago, doesn't mean you necessarily know what is happening in our communities and the and Boston public schools,
yeah,
where things are very different from exam schools. So I'm very, like, we have to. I wish that we could elect. In my personal opinion, I wish we can elect these members to the
I
Boston
agree.
School Committee, because I just don't. I think it's buddy buddy. I'm gonna
Yeah,
elect you if you do this for me,
yeah,
and the truth is that's how politics is.
yeah,
And I would like for more of our people to have, and when I say our people, I mean like the city of Boston, the people that need to be represented
yeah,
have more control over it. And
yeah,
there's a reason why we don't know about these elections, right?
yeah,
Like, There's a reason why we don't know how a lot of this politics stuff works, because
Yeah,
there's power within it.
yeah,
And so if we don't know, um, how things are ran, we just never know. We
yeah,
can't change anything. So, and that's part of what, this podcast is like knowing your rights, knowing what's going on in your city. And so you can change it.
yeah. We need to educate ourselves. We need to learn.
Yeah.
We need to be more involved because some of the reason why Boston is a mayoral city, people don't think we care.
Yeah.
Like we don't pay attention to mayoral election. How we gonna pay attention to those smaller election, but smaller, but they're not small.
Yeah.
It's power. Like
Yeah.
we need to educate ourselves. We need to learn. We need to be present when budget are being discussed. We need more alumni voices. We need more alumni involvement. Like,
Yeah.
we need more. We need correct representation
Yes.
at
That's
the
what we,
table.
yeah.
Correct representation. So, I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to be more involved.
Yep.
Uh, as we say that we know it's time that we become members of our community and not a
Yep.
number.
Yep.
You know,
Not just a voter.
yeah, not just a voter. You don't just vote and then just like you
Yeah.
vote and then you hold people accountable.
Accountable. Yeah.
Accountable. We don't know everything. We're just learning everything. And part of learning is just understanding that you may be wrong in some areas,
Yeah.
but also willing to hear other perspectives.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so yeah.
I'm
Um
I'm definitely excited, man. I'm excited about what's to come as far as, a new Boston. Um Personally, I have my own thoughts, but like I'm excited to see where, this mayor race goes,
yeah,
then how what Boston is going to start to look like now that power has,
yeah,
changed. So,
definitely. I'm excited too. So with that being said, we're gonna take a break and we'll be right back for our final thought.
yep.
Welcome back, everyone. We'll be discussing local politics. They need to be more involved. Um, right now, candidate are we have six, as we said, there's like six candidates, and there may be more. We don't know, but we need to do our research, learn more about them, figure out what their agenda are. We need to show our present. We need to show up like we show up for presidential elections.
Yeah. Um I think it's so important that as we're moving into this new season of Boston, this new season within our community, that we pay more attention to what's going on. Um, Things that have been happening in our community, um, have to do with politics, have to do with who's serving us. Certain things that are not getting done have to do with who's sitting at the table or
Yeah,
who's representing our community.
yeah, yeah,
So we got to make a change now. We got to learn about it now. We got to make a difference now. Um,
for that.
and so, yes. And so, one of the questions, we're going to leave you guys with, and we want you guys to answer, whether it's in the comments, emailing us, whatever, or if you're just thinking about it, but we want to ask these questions.
Yeah.
How are you planning to get more involved in your local politics?
Yes, I love that question, and I can't wait
Deep.
to the answer.
Yes.
Um, yeah, another question that comes up with me is just, who do you want us to see to bring on this podcast?
Yeah.
From mayoral candidate, city council at large candidate, city council district candidate. Who do you want to hear from? Let us know. Email us, comment. We want to hear from you. Like we need to have conversation. We need to learn about those kids early.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing we want to ask, it's so important to hear from you guys and for the candidates to respond to your questions. Our question to you is, what questions would you have for them if they were to come on the show? Um, they are working for you. They are
Here.
you're paying tax dollars, and you have a right to ask them any questions that pertain to your community or everyday life. So I'm very excited about this next phase within the next month, well, couple of months. We have some things cooking, so stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Comment, share with a friend, everything. Straight out of BPS.
Podcast.
See you guys.
See ya.